Okay, she's in the process of logging in now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. We're almost live. Okay, we're live.
Today is Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, and it is 6:00 p.m. Eastern. This is an 8-member board appointed by the City of South Fulton, Mayor and Council to hold public hearings to make recommendations on rezonings, use permits, and concurrent variance applications, comprehensive land use plan map, and amendments to the zoning resolution. Citizens may speak for or against a zoning issue, and each side will have up to 10 minutes total to present its case. Tonight's virtual meeting, citizens may enter their comments and questions on our email address at planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. The Planning Commission's recommendations will be forwarded to the city's mayor and council for final decision on the 4th Tuesday of the next month. We will proceed to the items on the agenda. First, we'll have the staff to take a roll call to establish a quorum.
Hold on for 1 second. Okay, Commissioner Hadley,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Walters. Oh, she said she wouldn't be here today. Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Floyd
Present.
and Commissioner Weatherly. Okay, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of last month's meeting minutes. Will we entertain a motion to approve the minutes from October?
So moved.
It has been moved. Oh, there we go.
A second.
Thank you. It has been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? If not, will the staff call for a roll vote?
Okay, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes.
You forgot me.
Do
Do I get to vote since I'm chair?
No,
Oh,
only
okay.
if it's like a kind of a tiebreaker.
Okay. So I don't even get to vote today.
Right.
All right. No, it's been a minute since I've had the chair.
Okay.
Thank you for the grace, my fellow commissioners. Now we'll call for, we will now move into old business. And seeing that there is none, we will move into new business. Will the staff please present the petitions for today's meeting?
Yes, ma'am. So, as our chair already mentioned, please send all comments tonight to the planning email address, planning, PLANNING @cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Rezoning, concurrent variances, and ordinances will be heard at the December 14th council zoning hearing for the final vote. So our first case tonight is Z21005. It's at the intersection of Campbellton Road and Camp Creek Parkway. It's for a mixed use rezoning, and staff is recommending deferral until the January 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Would you like to hear the presentation?
I think I'd like to take it to a vote to the commissioners to see if they'd like to defer until January.
Are we at a point for a motion or? Do we want to
Yes. Yep,
So
we can
I-
entertain a motion.
So I make a motion that we defer petition Z21-005 until December.
Till December or January.
To December or the January meeting.
Shatiqua Ford, I second.
It has been moved and properly second that we defer Z 21005 until the next Planning Commission meeting, either December 2021 or January 2022. Any discussion? And we will call for a roll call vote.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I make a suggestion? The motion gave two options. So it needs to be a motion to defer it to the month of, determining what that month would be. The or still leaves it open where it hasn't necessarily given clarity to staff as to where it's moving to. So it needs to be either December or January.
Okay, so we'll call for a motion to defer the meeting until January 2022. So Commissioner Jones, can I get a new?
Let me amend that motion. Thank you very much. That we defer petition Z21-005 until the January 2022 meeting.
Shatiqua Ford, I second that motion.
It has been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion? We'll have the staff call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd,
Aye.
that vote passes.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to the next petition.
So the next petition is Z 2114. It's a rezoning at 7560, 7550, and 7540 Butner Road. The applicant is in the process of gathering some additional information to attach as amendments to the originally submitted rezoning petition. And given that information, staff is recommending deferral until the January 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
All right, so we will move to have a motion to defer the hearing of this petition until January 2022.
This is Commissioner Floyd. I recommend the deferral of Z 21014 until the January 2022 meeting.
I have a question on this. This is Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
The numbers on this rezoning, is this correct or incorrect of what we received? It's got 7560, 7550, and 7540, but on what we received, it's different numbers. So I wanted to be clear on is the address correct or not?
Yeah. We have 7560, which is not on the meeting agenda. So Marissa, could you clarify, please?
Yes, ma'am. So
Jackson?
yes, ma'am. So there's a collection of 3 parcels that are being rezoned together. So it's 7560, 7550, 7540 Butner Road. And there are 3 parcels that are next to each other.
Okay. So what we received is incorrect. Okay. Not what's on here. Okay.
I will double check what was in the packet and follow up with you after the meeting.
It
Sorry,
says
it's not.
7450, 7750, and 7560 Butner Road.
Right, I left off the, I apologize for that, for the 7560, I left that off the agenda.
Okay. I'm just making sure it's the right
Thank
parcel
you.
that we're deferring.
All right, so having heard the motion and it was properly second and in discussion, are we ready to call for staff, excuse me,
Roll call.
a roll call vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Grant.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd,
Aye.
that vote passes.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, let's move to the next item on the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is Z2115. It's a collection of parcels on Bethsaida Road and Bethsaida Drive. The staff asked for additional information from the petitioner, and that information is in the process of being reviewed. Given those facts at this time, staff recommends deferral until the January 2022 meeting.
All right, may we have a motion, entertain a motion to defer Z 210015 to January 2022.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion? All right, having no discussion, Mr. Gray, could you please call for a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley. Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes.
Thank you. And Ms. Jackson, let's move to the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's a use permit for a hair salon located on Cascade Road, and staff is recommending approval.
All right. May I have a motion to?
Well, we
Oh.
should,
Let's go through this. That's right.
yeah, we should go through, if we have permission to, we would like to go through the presentation and hold a public hearing for this item tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
let's do it.
So the applicant is applying for a new business license for a hair salon. The applicant was previously operating on a business license that had expired and was not renewed on at the appropriate time. The applicant went to municipal court and was instructed by the court to cease operations and return in 90 days after the planning commission and the council had an opportunity to have a public hearing for the use permit. We are here today because the new zoning code that was adopted in 2022 requires that certain businesses, including personal care services like hair salons, receive special use permits before we are able to issue them business licenses. The current site is zone C2, and the future land use is regional live work. And the business and the zoning are both in alignment with the future land use plan. So here's an idea of where it is on the map. This is Fairburn Road. This is Cascade Road. Here's the public shopping center on Cascade. And it's here to the east of the Publix. It's in this section. This is the future land use map. It's regional live work, and it's within the future land use. And then it's zone C2, as we can see in this image. Here's the inside of the salon. This is the entrance. In this area, there's like a sitting area. There's a receptionist desk here. If you walk towards the middle of it, there are some booths here. And then there's a shampoo bowl in the back. And then here's the exit. And this is what the inside of the salon that was operating. This is what it looks like currently. It's already decorated. That's the inside. And then staff's recommendation for this item is approval.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. We'd like to move to public comment. We have a motion to open public comment.
A motion to open public comment.
Second, this is Hadley.
It has been moved and properly second to open public comment. Mr. Gray, can we get a vote, a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner Jones,
I'm sorry. Aye.
okay, Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
and Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes to open public hearing, comment.
All right.
Hearing.
Do we have any public comments? Will we hear from the petitioner or have any public here? Start with the
Petitioner
petitioner,
first.
please. Yes. Is the petitioner on the call, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Ms. Robbins.
Yes. Hi, I'm
Hi.
Giovanni Robbins. I guess I want to say, I hope that you approve the use permit so that we can operate and continue to serve the community.
All right. Any other comments on behalf of the petitioner? Any comments come in, Ms. Jackson, from the email?
We don't have any comments from the planning email address.
And any comments against the use
No.
permit? Okay. We'd like to close public comment. Can I get a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we close public comment. Any discussion from the commissioners? Any questions for the petitioner?
This is Commissioner Jones. So just for the record state, it just seems like the petitioner, ma'am, it seems like did you forget to renew your license?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
How long have you been operating at this present?
Since August of 2019.
And you've operated through the COVID season?
We did have some downtime, but yes, sir.
All right.
Any other questions? Any other discussion from the commission? All right. I'd like to move to a motion to approve or deny or defer the use permit request.
We didn't vote on closing.
Oh, did I close? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. We have a motion to close public comments. Oh, close public comment. I thought I did that. Close public comment.
Okay.
Oh my
Roll
goodness.
call, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes to close public comment.
All right, we've moved to entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer the use permit request.
I would like to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Floyd, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
I would like to make a motion that we approve petition number Z1005.
Will you say the number again, please, Mr.
Hold on,
Jones?
did I say the wrong number? I'm sorry. I'll make a motion that we approve petition U21-005. I'm sorry.
Is it 5 or 6?
5.
I've got 5, but my eyes are.
I think it's
Not
5
a-
in the agenda. It is 6 on the screen.
sir.
Ms. Jackson, can you confirm the petition number, please?
I believe it's U21005. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I see U21-005,
okay. All right.
3695 Cascade Road.
All right, thank you. Can I get a second?
Sequel Floyd, I'll second the motion.
All right, it has been moved and properly second that we approve the use permit at U21005. Mr. Gray, can I get a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
and Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes to approve U21005.
All right, thank you. Ms. Jackson, let's move to the next item on the agenda.
Yes, I'd like to pass the floor to my director, Ms. Reed, to hold a public hearing concerning the city-initiated text amendments.
Thanks, Marissa. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you the upcoming text amendments for the zoning ordinance. Next slide, Marissa, please. Just a little history. Back December 8th, 2020, you all gave the opportunity for us to revise our zoning ordinance, and your recommendation was passed over to council. During our presentation back in 2020, we had always advised that we were planning to allow for a year to pass before the next text amendments were warranted or needed. So we spent the last year identifying any challenges that may be presented where the zoning ordinance did not reflect certain uses or processes. And we've had conversation with council members, and they were able to weigh in some changes they wish to see themselves as well as staff. So I'll go through each of those in the presentation tonight. The first item, gas stations are treated as special use within our zoning ordinance. And we have where within our zoning ordinance, there are certain provisions that they must go through to have a warranted approval for a business license. And we're looking to revise it so that gas stations are not treated differently in different areas. For example, our zoning ordinance currently says that if gas stations are located along Fulton Industrial Boulevard, then they would have a right out allowed use. Well, we're changing that to have it where no matter where it is in the city, it has a special use provision that is required. And that is initiated by Councilwoman Rao. I'll pause for a second. I neglected to mention that is identified in your staff report before you in more detail of the language that is being proposed for change.
Okay.
Going to the second item, there's a modification being proposed for the Cedar Grove Overlay District as well as the Cedar Grove Agricultural Overlay District. This is for the sake of clarity. There are some areas within the zoning ordinance that does not allow for us to have specifics on how development will be laid out. Some conflicting language that's in there that needs to be revised. And so we worked directly with Councilwoman Gilliard to have those revisions being made, and we're moving those forward through this text amendment. The next item, the creation of the Red Oak Overlay District. The comprehensive plan that we are in the process of adopting identifies where Councilwoman Willis requested that an overlay be provided for the process of allowing for different aesthetic and design provisions to be provided for the Red Oak area. As we may know, the Red Oak area is one of our historic areas that has a very distinctive environment and look to it. And we wanted to ensure that we are protecting and preserving that with the overlay district. And again, that is sponsored by Councilwoman Willis. Next slide, please. Okay, so our next item, it was said that there would need to be a reduction in the square footage for homes. And we found there to be the R5A existing small square footage. So with that, the reduction went down to as low as 400 square feet, heated square feet for the proposed homes. With that, the state law, the way that the state recognizes homes of 400 square feet or less are identified as tiny homes. So this particular provision would allow for tiny homes to be an allowed use within the city of South Fulton. That was initiated directly from Councilman Reeves. Next item, we have where council has said that they would like to have additional provisions to be provided for special use permits. So when special use permits are coming before you all, as well as our council members, they're asking for there to be additional parameters where the applicants must meet such requirements prior to granting approval. Again, as mentioned, those informations are added directly in your staff report that will allow for staff to be able to give more information to you all when you're making your decisions to assist you better in those decisions when it comes to special use permits. Next item, and again, that was sponsored by all council members. Next item, we found that AG1 does not give a minimum for your housing size. So if we're looking to have a area where in the code where AG1 is addressed to have a minimum square footage, staff is looking to have it almost identical to what R1 allows for. And again, that's in your staff report to allow for that such square footage. That is staff's request for that to change. Staff is also asking for recreational courts to be an allowed use where we are including additional recreational uses. Currently, for example, a volleyball court is not allowed within the city of South Fulton because it doesn't give such parameters within the recreational court provision. So with that, we're asking to change that to allow for additional recreational style uses that are more traditional as tennis courts and volleyballs and such. And again, that's by staff. Staff has initiated the next item as well, where the zoning denial timing, we're looking to revise that from 6 months to a year. So when you're recommending an item for council for approval or denial, when council makes that decision today, it has a 6-month break before an applicant can bring back that same request for the same property. We are looking to ask for that to be extended to allow for it to be a full year. We have found that a year gives enough time for the applicant to make additional provisions and changes that would allow for some of the issues or matters that would need to be addressed in the reconsideration of that application. A year is usually the standard that you're seeing for almost every government to have when it comes to zoning changes. Next slide, please. Okay. So as you all may know, we have been very successful in expanding our land mass. We are currently now the, I guess, I don't want to say, well, we're very much proud to say that Fulton Industrial Boulevard is in our city limits south of I-20. With that being said, our zoning ordinance did not reflect that back for the 2020 amendment that I have mentioned earlier. And so we're needing to add that into our zoning classification to give it its own zoning. That zoning will be identical to what Fulton County had it as. As you all clearly know, that the Fulton Industrial Business District is an industrial area primarily, with some small areas of commercial. So it will continue to have those zonings in place. And that was sponsored by city staff. The landscaping requirements for Fulton Industrial Business District overlay. We're looking to expand the landscaping requirements for new businesses as they come in. We would like to be able to see a more crisp, cleaner look when it comes to landscaping, and make it additionally, I guess, add additional attraction to the area. We found that to be a recent need. So we have increased that in our landscaping requirements. And again, that was sponsored by staff. The next item is sponsored by staff as well, which is the special event permitting process. Our city attorney has assisted us with this item. It has been found that special events permitting or allowance is identified in 4 separate ordinances. And we found it to be best to remove it from the zoning ordinance in other areas or other ordinances and make it so that it has its own individual ordinance, so that the special event permitting staff is able to use one document to ensure that certain provisions, certain rules and regulations are being followed and not being overlooked by being placed in 4 different locations. So we're asking to remove the special event permitting process from our zoning ordinance. And there will be a need to have additional definitions as we are making edits inside of the code. So wherever there's going to be an opportunity for edits, there will then be a chance to identify what is being reflected in that addition. And that was sponsored by staff as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to share with you all the timeline for these amendments. We had our first CZIM or discussion on this item on November 8th. And this is where we presented it out to the public first, gave an opportunity for the public to weigh in. The next time we had a discussion, we presented it out to council on November 9th and allowed for council to tell us what their provisions and thoughts were on these proposals, as that was their first time hearing it collective amongst city staff as well as council's requests combined into one presentation. And then of course tonight, we were presented over to our planning commission to allow for them to provide a recommendation to council on which way to move with these items I've just presented. And then of course, those recommendations move over to December 14th council meeting, where there will be in fact a public hearing and the first read of these ordinances or text amendments that I just mentioned. The December 21st will be the second reading and a chance for there to be a vote on these items. I would like for the public to note that December 21st will be called as a special call meeting, as this is not reflected in their regular schedule, but it was created for the allowance of this text amendment. Next slide, please. And then of course, lastly, staff is recommending approval of this text amendment. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Will we take a motion to open the floor for public comment? Commissioners, would someone like to make a motion to entertain public comment, entertain a motion for public comment?
Commissioner Floyd will open the floor for public comment. A motion to open the floor for public comment.
Can we get a second to that motion, please?
This is Commissioner Jones. Can we just hold for a second? We just received a lot of information here. And I'm wondering if we need a work session on this before we move forward with this. I see the timeline, but I guess I kind of want to understand the protocol of it and to get more information and to really dig down on this. That's kind of my apprehension. Madam Co-Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Commissioner Jones. I think we could still move to public comment and then in our discussion, decide how we'd like to move forward. Is everyone, we're okay with that? Can we get a second to open public comment?
So move. I mean, a second.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
If we move to open comment or public comment now, where would there be a I mean, because staff just gave us an overview or a presentation on the topics. We didn't go into any of the topics in detail or what they're recommending or the specifics about the topics. So is the presentation going to be given so we can be, brought up to speed to say on what's going on?
So we could open public comment and at the time of closing public comment, we could have a discussion. And then I'll defer to Ms. Reed on how we could proceed if the commissioners would like time to review the details in the packet before we open. So I'm gonna turn it back to staff.
Okay, so we provided this information over to the Planning Commission in our normal time frame. And that information was given on in the end of last week to allow for there to be a review of it. I understand if you're asking for more time, but I believe because it has been advertised as a public hearing, you would have to make a motion to either defer it further, which is the only option you would have for additional, unless you want to have a presentation going through each individual item. I am more than open to doing that tonight to give you more clarity, to allow for you to make your recommendation for tonight. Or if you are saying you need more information or time, I'm not sure how much time you're saying. So I would leave it open to you to decide how much more time you need, if you're needing me to go in more depth conversation with you.
Okay.
With the amount of information that we're receiving, I would have liked, this is Commissioner Jones, I would have liked a special, a work session on this. I'm sure you've sent it to us. Respectfully, a lot of information is sent, but this is a great deal of information. We need to really make sure that everybody received it and that we were going to have to move with at such a deliberate pace.
Understood. I would have to defer to our city attorney on the phone or on the line, as we don't usually have work sessions for Planning Commission. No. We're typically allowing for a public hearing to be present, and then a recommendation moves over to council. We've never had a work session for the Planning Commissioners.
I think a presentation on each of the topics will suffice.
Okay.
Is that something we want to go in today, or I think or do you all want to go back to your packet? We defer this until a December meeting?
Well, I have a question. This is Commissioner Williams. Isn't she saying that we cannot defer it and that the most we can do is go over it like we do the other zoning thing, each individual one tonight?
How many of those were on there, Ms. Reed? It was like 16 things on this document.
There's a total of, what is this, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12. Or are there specific ones that you all had questions about? Like, do we need to talk about landscaping? Like,
Well,
are there really specific?
I think they're in the rhythm of things, and from the standpoint of consistency, it should be a presentation. It could be brief on each of the topics.
So I think we just had a brief presentation. Are you looking for more detail on every single item on the text amendments? Or are there specific ones?
Well, we pretty much had the topics read to us. I don't think that was a presentation.
Well, I had given the presentation of what was being requested, why these changes were being requested, who gave the request. If there's any additional questions relative to that that may be missed, of course, I'm here to answer those. So again, each item that I've presented to you for tonight has given in-depth information on just the basics of what it is that we're looking to do. Now, if there's some uncertainties or clarity that needs to be provided, that's what I'm asking, if you can identify what those are so I can clear up any questions.
Well, this is Commissioner Williams, and I do have one question that was asked to me from the Councilman Reed in regards to number 4.
Can we go back? Can you tell us what that number is, Commissioner, and we can pull that up?
Number 4 off of the list this is the text amendment.
So before we go into that, Madam Co-Chair, I do know that this is a public hearing. So at a minimum, we must in fact open the floor for public hearing.
For public comment.
Yes, ma'am.
And then motion.
Yes, ma'am. So once those are heard, we can then open it up for discussion. So the process is public comment first, and then and then open discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if we're going to go through all of them or not, because we were going back and forth to see, is she just going like she just read off the list, or are we going through all 12 of the list in more detail like we usually do on the other zoning issues?
So we're gonna, Commissioner Floyd, could you please, I think you had made the initial motion to open public comment for the text amendments.
Yes, I did.
Could you please repeat your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to open the floor for public comments on the text amendments.
Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that we open the floor for public comment for text amendments 21-003. Mr. Gray, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley, Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
and Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
Public comment is now open.
Ms. Jackson, do we have any comments that have come through via email?
Yes.
Or Mr. Gray?
Yes, I do have one comment that came from Mr. Michael Venable, and I'll read as written. This request is for you to vehemently recommend to deny the text amendment for tiny homes. First, this notion is still a fad. There is no data whatsoever of the short or long-term consequences or viability of these developments. Do not make any community a guinea pig for anything. Second, by tying the zoning to an R5 category, the city would make tiny homes only mostly suggested for districts 5, 6, and 7. Paid consultants for our city plans have confirmed that the southern end of the city already has a highly disproportionate number of lower valued homes, and that this fact is problematic for the city. and approval of this change only serves to disparage the southern end of the city. Your approval of this amendment makes this body a party to redlining. Placing all the cheaper real estate in one area is blatantly discriminatory as this text amendment. You all should make a very strong recommendation to deny. And I have one more from Mr. Venable. Using R5 as a zoning area for tiny homes is discriminatory as R5 zonings are only in South Fulton areas, districts 5 through 7. A tiny home area needs its own district or special use. There is no reason areas in District 1 through 4 should be protected and the other districts are not. And that concludes.
Thank you. Any other comments? That's all of our comments that have come in?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to close. I'd like to entertain a motion. Will we entertain a motion to close public comment?
Commissioner Floyd, motion to close public comment.
Will someone please second the motion?
I second it, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that we close public comment. May we get a roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd?
Aye.
That vote passes to close public comment.
All right. Any discussion from the commissioners? Any specific questions about any particular zoning text amendment on the list?
Yes, this is Commissioner Williams, and I have a specific question on number 4, which is the modifications to R-5A district standard, creation of tiny home development district. I would like to know what does the heated square footage mean? What's the meaning of that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. So your heated floor area would be anything that's not considered like storage. For example, sometimes a home may have like a base that is not identified as an actual livable space. So your heated floor area is going to be where you're finding yourself living inside of that particular square footage. So it includes your bedroom, your kitchen, your living room, things of that nature. But anything that would be considered to be not in that livable space to have additional storage spaces, I'm trying to mention for like under the slab or things of that nature, then no, that would not be included as your heated floor area.
Okay, and I have another question in regards to this. I think this is what the public comments was talking about. I do not see in what you all sent us anything that says tiny homes. And if this is a modification, the modification that I'm reading is only on the square foot of something that already exists.
So yes, ma'am, the information that you have identifies R5A as a change in the square footage, but it ultimately then creates what is found to be a tiny home based on how the state recognizes the square footage that's going to be or that's being proposed for the reduction down to 400. So the tiny home classification or description that's being identified today is where we're reflecting what the state identifies to be what is considered a tiny home.
Okay, so is that anywhere in the text amendment that you all sent over to us to review? Because I don't see it. If it is, can you?
Yes, ma'am. So you're seeing.
Page?
Yes, ma'am. So let me give just a little bit more history, how it all started. The conversation that was had with the council member first reflected it to be where there was a desire to reduce the square footage to allow for a different style of homes. And when the conversation was had with staff, it was found to be that we could identify there to be a reduction in the square footage to allow for there to be what was being proposed. And so because R5A had a small square footage already at 650 square feet for the heated floor area, we found it to be more admissible to allow for that R5A to have the revision. And then it was found later, an additional conversation to reduce it down again to 400. So at that point, when it was reduced down to 400, we found it to be, well, now it's considered a tiny home. Because the first revisions were not identified as a tiny home, but now where the state recognizes it as 400 square feet, it's now being reflected and identified as a tiny home. So with that all said, I can have any additional questions. Lee, I know that you're on the phone. Lee Walton, who also works for Wood, who will be assisting the city staff in making these revisions. I don't know if I'm missing anything on the explanation, but if you would like to add anything, most definitely I can ask for you to do that.
I'll be glad to add a comment. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, apologize, I'm on a phone. The comment I would add is that in terms of the density relative to lot size, there is no proposed change from the existing R5A standard. The consideration here is to maintain the R5A density and the requirement for a minimum 4,000 square foot lot, but allow lesser size of structure, as we've been talking about. Also allow some modifications in setbacks, and very importantly, include additional standards requiring open space preservation and also requiring a measure of clustering development around open spaces. And so the notion has been that we propose allowing flexibility in home size, and as mentioned, down to the level of 400 square feet, which the state defines as a tiny home, but in, I guess, in a quality enhancement to require open space and neighborhood design that makes an attractive result, whether it is tiny homes or somewhat larger cottage homes, which is another. Cottage homes is not a state-defined term, but it's generally understood as a size of home that would be larger than a tiny home, which has, by state definition, a maximum of 400 square feet, but generally smaller than a typical home, which would be in the typically 1,000 square feet plus range. And I'll be happy to elaborate more if I can answer any specific questions.
So this is Commissioner Williams. So this is my understanding, okay? My understanding that this proposal is requesting that we take it from 400 square feet as a cottage, according to this. Some of the language says cottages, some of it says tiny homes, to 200 square feet, and that's a heated space.
No.
And then,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay.
I apologize.
And there's some provisions, because everything in red is what you're trying to change, if that's my understanding. And then there's some provisions in the buffers, like you said, the setbacks and things of that nature. Yeah.
And I can clarify, agreeing with Ms. Reed, that the intent, and I'm not sure exactly how it looks before you right now, but the intent as of the latest revision was to allow a minimum heated floor area size of 400 square feet.
That was the original. And this request for the text amendment is, if I'm reading it correctly, is 200 square feet.
That's not my understanding of the current intent. My understanding of the current intent and of the intent of Councilmember Reeves, who initiated this, my understanding of the council member's intent is to allow a minimum 400 square foot structure. So 400 square foot or greater. So I'm not sure where 200, why that shows up.
According to page 16.2A1, it says a minimum of, and 400 is crossed out, 200 square feet. And according to, he does represent my district. That is what it's saying here.
That's the open space. You're identifying the open
Okay,
space.
so,
level.
okay, that's the
top,
difference between the open space and the heated space.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, that's different.
Okay.
So that's out, that's different. So if you go back up to page 15, we're identifying the heated floor space. It says 400 square feet minimum.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So my understanding now is the 400 square feet minimum heated is different than the 200 square feet of the minimum. Okay.
And to clarify, the 200 square foot open space, that is intended to effectively result in pocket parks, if you will. That's not 200 square feet of open space required on the same lot as the structure. That's a public or a community open space requirement that in neighborhood design, and I believe there's an illustration of the concept at the end of the text of the proposed amendment.
Yes.
And if you take a look at that, you'll see that there's the notion of small open spaces surrounded by small homes on small lots, but the additional public open space beyond the yard requirements that would be on each lot is intended to emphasize quality of neighborhood, quality design, open space.
Okay.
This is-
I see what you're talking about now. So can I ask this question, or maybe it's just me, I may not have this knowledge. Why is it, okay, I think you did explain it. According to the cottages and the tiny homes, there's a difference according to the state law or the state definition of it. That's why you are using the definition, or using that term differently in each.
Yes, ma'am. And if I could go into just a bit more detail on that, along the lines of what Ms. Reed was just saying. Some time ago, the State Department of Community Affairs and the state as a whole recognized interest in tiny homes and went to the effort to, and I think consistent with national standards, to define tiny homes, provide an official definition, recognize unique features, and even provide for local governments to consider additional building code standards that would help make tiny homes work in terms of some safety requirements and ingress egress requirements from an architectural standpoint. So among other details, the state's definition of a tiny home is a structure between 250 square feet, possibly 200 or 250 square feet at the low end, and 400 square feet at the top end. So what is described here as a minimum 400 square foot, we feel it's important, if what is ultimately approved is the minimum 400 square feet, we feel it's important to recognize that is consistent with the high end of the state's definition of a tiny home. And then we also feel it would be important, I should say, as a consultant, would feel it would be important for the city to also consider the residential building code appendix called Appendix Q, which provides some additional specific building code standards for tiny homes.
Okay, well, that's all my questions that I have.
This is Commissioner Jones. Mr. Lee, you spoke about national standards, and I have seen reports of people being able to pretty much pick up this tiny home and move it away. Are these properties, will they be affixed and unremovable, or is this a glorified RV park?
Yes, sir. Good question. They will be fixed in the ground. I would not say they're unmovable because, as I'm sure you're aware, even small standard houses can be moved. The allowances within this proposed text amendment are for either a site-built home or a modular home, which is different from an RV, certainly, and also different from a manufactured home. But either a site-built or modular home. This specifically, the text that we have drafted and proposed does not allow for such as shipping container units or similar to that to be used. It must be a modular home, or in common terminology, stick-built home that's consistent with the residential building code of the city.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I just have to say that I think there needs to be further public comment on all of this. It's a lot. If we're being told tonight that we cannot defer all of this, I would have to abstain because it's just a lot. And I just think that there needs to be more conversation with us. And I think that there needs to be more public. I think there needs to be more opportunity for the public to weigh in on all of this.
Madam Co-Chair, may I speak, please? I'm sorry, you're muted.
Yes, of course. You're probably going to say what I was going to say, but go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to clarify something. It was never said that you couldn't defer. I want to make that clear that you can recommend a deferral as you do for any item. You have that authority and power. What I was clarifying was that if you wanted to have an opportunity to have an in-depth discussion tonight, we could do that. Or you could allow for there to be a deferral. So it could have been either one. So I just want to make sure I put that on the record, that that is not what I was intending when that question was asked earlier.
So any other questions from any other commissioners or comments? I think Ms. Commissioner Hadley, I thought I heard your voice earlier.
Yes, ma'am. I agree in the spirit of what's happening. I would prefer to go into a presentation. Otherwise, you know, I'm available tonight to go through it. But I do think from the standpoint of the details, and we don't want to rush anything through, that we need to give this a little bit more time.
Okay. Anyone else? So one of the things that I do want to say to be respectful to the staff and just to remind us of our duty, you know, our duty is to review the documents in a timely manner before the meetings. And if we need to establish some additional time, I think that the staff sent us the things in the time that we've agreed that we should receive them, and we've had, you know, the number of days to review the documentation. I just want to I want to go on the record of saying that you know, as commissioners, it is our duty and our diligence to both the staff as well as the citizens of the city of South Fulton that we come to our meetings prepared and have reviewed the packets that we receive via email. I think the best use of our time would be to review these documents and to defer would be my comment for this, to defer this. I know we do not currently have a meeting on the books for December. We could definitely call a special meeting. And I think that meeting would actually, we need a specific date, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Reed, because I think our scheduled meeting is the week of the holiday.
You would have normally had a December 21st meeting.
Yeah. And I think in the past we moved that meeting up, but I could be wrong because it's been 3 years since I've been in this seat. And Mr. Hadley, you might, Commissioner Hadley, you might remember, you've been, and Ms. Floyd, I think we've done a December meeting, but I really believe we've done it earlier. So I think to satisfy everyone, I would like for us to consider having an opportunity to go back and review the staff packets. And if we want to have more discussion, we can come with our questions prepared or send our questions in advance to make the best use of everyone's time this evening.
Madam Co-Chair,
This is Commissioner Jones, and I just want to say that I think that it's a both and issue tonight. So I certainly don't want to make it seem as though the commission is ill prepared. What I do want to note is that you can tell by public comment that perhaps this information needs more time to be digested by all parties.
So may I ask a question, Madam Co-Chair, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
There's
ma'am.
2 things I want to make on the record, that December 14th, just to let you know, that is a council meeting. And then
Okay.
council had a December 21st special called meeting for that 21st date. So if there is a deferral, I want to make sure on record that the December 14th and 21st are not the dates that are being chosen.
Okay.
Okay, and one last thing, I just want to ask if the only concern or question is on that one item, because I haven't heard any other items, could it be possible that we could just extract this particular piece out to allow the other items to move along schedule? Or with the planning commissioners, if a deferral is being requested, I would ask if they're telling us if it's going to be all. So I'm just wanting clarity.
So those who need additional time, can you please clarify? I think what I was hearing is that they wanted a presentation on each item, but I could be wrong. So
You're
Commissioner
right.
Jones, okay, Mr. Commissioner Hadley. All right, thank you.
Hello, this is Commissioner Williams. I have a question. So if we do defer it or come up with that, is there any way, based on the timeline, that we defer it to a special meeting that we all agree on before the public hearing and the first reading of zoning ordinance? Is that possible?
So can we bring up the timeline again? So this was the public hearing meeting for today that, can you go to the timeline too? Thank you.
Tuesday, November 16th is today. And
Yeah,
the
that's
public
today.
hearing
Mhm.
And the first reading of the
Oh.
zoning ordinance is December the 14th, which is about, what, 4 weeks from today?
Yes, ma'am. More
So
like,
it's
yeah.
possible, if we agree as a whole, commissioners, to actually postpone this before that meeting. That's what I'm asking.
So I would defer first to the attorneys. Can we call a meeting for a day that between now and the commissioners meeting? The council public hearing? How does that work?
Yeah, well, we've technically already, I'm sorry, this is Reginald McClendon, the Assistant City Attorney for the City of South Fulton. We have technically already had the public hearing as advertised for today. So if we, so we do have the ability to call another, to call a special meeting between now and the council work session to discuss these items more in depth. But that meeting, just to be clear, would not be considered a public hearing, and we likely would not have time to call and advertise for another public hearing between now and the next work session meeting.
So we wouldn't be able to make proper notification. Is that what I just heard?
We would be able to make proper notification for a special call meeting, but it would not be a public hearing.
Hearing, okay. Having heard all of that, commissioners, how would you like to proceed?
I make a motion that we decide upon a date and have a special called meeting.
So do we
This is before
this first?
I'm sorry,
Attorney
this is
was that you?
Yeah, it is, and I just want to I want to chime back in just to make sure that I'm clear. Today is the 16th. The public the council work session is December the 14th. So that's probably 28 or 29 days from now. We would need 15 days of notice for our public hearing. It could probably happen. We would have to call that special called meeting fairly close to the work session date, though, in order to for staff to be able to get out the notifications for that to be considered another public hearing, if that makes sense.
Also, Attorney McClendon, please note that November 30th is the election day, and then the holidays between the 24th through the 26th. So the November date does allow for there to be, well, let me rephrase it. It does not allow for there to be many meetings prior to the December 14th date. So I just want to put that on the record that when we're considering this, it seems the 29th would be the only dates that could allow for there to be a advertisement, but I would need to also speak with the newspaper to see if they would allow for us to have enough time between now and the 29th to post that information out to them based on their timeline.
Ms. Reed, we couldn't do it. Okay. I'm looking at something here.
So the challenge that you're having is December 14th would be council's receiving of your recommendation. If you do not have a recommendation prior to December 14th, that means that that discussion cannot go on the agenda for council as it would be receiving your recommendation. And you wouldn't have a recommendation at that time if it's deferred and not, again, I don't think tonight I'm not having enough information to before me to know if I have enough advertised. Because if I'm not mistaken, Madam Co-Chair, you're saying you definitely want this to be a public hearing. Am I correct?
Madam Co-Chair did not say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I assumed. I apologize.
No, I mean, we will move in the direction of the commissioners. I think what I've heard is that that there is a request for a deferral, and we need to call a special meeting, and we at a date that we can all agree upon before the city council public hearing.
Does that meeting have to be on a Tuesday evening?
No, sir.
And then that date, we also have to make sure we meet a quorum in order to host our meeting to determine if people are available as well. To Commissioner Jones, to your question.
So the date that we're looking at is my understanding is the 29th, which is the day before Election Day, which perhaps might put some commissioners, that might be a challenge for some. December the 7th and December the 6th, what was the challenge with those dates?
Oh, when I gave that date, sir, I was thinking that Madam Co-Chair was thinking to make it a public hearing. But now that that's not the case, then those dates wouldn't be an issue. That just means that you can't have any public comments read during your discussion at the time.
This is Commissioner Williams.
Well, it'll be, this is
all that we are saying here, it all has to be voted on. Yeah. In regards to if we defer it, if we get another meeting, the time and all of that.
Yeah, we'll vote on that this evening. Commissioner Williams. Was that the Attorney McClendon? Did I hear your voice?
Yes, Co-Chair. This is Attorney Reginald McClendon. I was going to say it would not be a public hearing as recognized by the zoning procedures law for the state of Georgia. However, that does not mean that you are prohibited from having an agenda item for public comments. Okay. It just would not be recognized as a public hearing.
Madam Co-Chair, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. So let me go back because in addition to us hosting this meeting, our staff needs to be available. So is our staff, Ms. Reed, I'm gonna let you determine if your staff is available.
I do not have any calendars in front to say that they are not available, but at a minimum, myself and the contractor could be available most definitely for you as a commission. Yes, ma'am.
And the attorney?
Yes, Co-Chair, I'm always available.
I like to hear that.
Be careful with that.
Available hours. Okay. All right. So can we entertain a motion to defer the approval of the tax amendments? I'm sorry, not tax. I'm sorry, I'm going back to my former career, the text amendments. Commissioners, can I get someone make a motion to defer?
This is Commissioner Jones, and I make a motion that we defer TA 21-003 until the special called meeting on, I got 3 dates here, November the 29th, is that correct? 2020? 2021, sorry.
Don't take us back, please.
Let me go back. All right, Commissioner Jones making a motion that we defer TA 21-003 for a special called meeting to be held on November 29th, 2021.
The motion has been, can I get a second? Anyone? So hearing no second, I guess that motion failed.
This is Commissioner Hadley. I second that, excuse me.
All right, thank you. It has been moved and properly second that we defer the text amendments of 21-003 to Monday, November 29th, 2021. Can I get a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
No.
Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
That vote passes 3-1 to defer TA 21-003 to Monday, November 29th, 2021.
Thank you. So can we make an agreement that we all review the packet that was sent to us on, I think, November 16th? Was it November 16th? November 12th, I believe. November 11th or 12th. Review the full packet to send your questions about each tax amendment that you have concerns with, to send those questions in advance to the staff on next week.
This is Commissioner Jones. You certainly would have my agreement, but I just want to ask Commissioner Williams, was it a date issue or was it another issue that she made that? Because we were looking at 3 dates. So I just want to make sure that that wasn't a date issue.
Oh, her vote no? Do you want to disclose why you voted no?
And she doesn't have to disclose. I'm just, if it was a date issue.
No, I don't wish to disclose it.
Okay. All right. I think it's time to go home. So I'd like to make, can I get a motion to, what I want to say? Dana, what I want to say? Adjourn. That's the word I'm looking for. A motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
A second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn the meeting tonight at 7:16 p.m. Eastern. Have a good night, everyone. Oh, we got a vote.
Roll call vote.
Can I get a roll call vote?
Yes, you can. Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Floyd.
Aye.
Vote passes to adjourn.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everybody.
It's always a joy to work
everyone.
with all of you. Thank
Good
you so
night.
much for your time tonight, everybody.
Thank you.
Same here.
Bye-bye.
Good night.